Gago, buntis ako.
Yeah, I heard you. How are you sure that's going?
Gago ka ba yun talaga yung sasagot mo sa akin? Hoy! Gago! Tangina mo, wala kang kwenta!
This scene from 2024 film Sunshine shows us that the lack of proper sex education allows stigma to thrive. In our conservative and predominantly Catholic country, so many conversations on reproductive health are shrouded in mystery and shame. How do we strike a balance between equipping the youth with the right tools and bombarding them with too much information? From Philstar Life and Puma Podcast, welcome to Generations, conversation about how different age groups see the world and why it matters. In this episode, Director Antoinette Hadaune joins me and Puma Podcast Editor-at-Large J. Mark Tordesillas for a conversation about sex education. Her recent film Sunshine can bring us one step closer to destigmatizing sex ed for Filipinos. Thank you so much for joining us today, Direk. At the risk of sounding unprofessional, I am a very big fan.
Hello, thank you. Thank you for inviting me here.
Yes, as am I. And siguro since this is the Generations podcast, before we get into Sunshine and our topic for today, can we ask you, Direk, what generation do you identify as? And what were your cultural touchstones to say you're part of this generation or that generation?
I'm a millennial. So, naabutan ko yung Friendster and Blog Drive and Live Journal. At naabutan ko rin ang pagsara ng NU. So, that says a lot about my generation.
Well, first off, I wanted to say my thoughts on Sunshine first. I remember watching the credits roll and feeling the tears stream down my face. And I had like a very distinct thought na, God, I wish I could tell Direct Tonet how much this movie means to me. So here I am telling you that the movie truly means so much to me. I felt like it was a very haunting but necessary watch for anyone who cares to claim about women in the Philippines. Because I don't think anyone is as aware of like how difficult it is to navigate womanhood in today's Philippines. So, I don't know, like, was there a particularly heartbreaking scene for me? I think, like, the realization while I was, like, watching the credits was, like, there was no scene in the film that was heartbreaking as thinking of how many young women today are in the same situation as Sunshine, but they don't get, like, a satisfying conclusion or a happy ending. So, yeah.
Thank you for that. Thank you.
Yeah, Direct, no? I'm a big fan of your work from the start. And for the most part, when I watch a Direct Tonet film, there's always an autobiographical element to it. Like, it's not hard to imagine you talking to Lilian Contapay or having moments at Sunken Garden. Sunshine feels like the least autobiographical, but it also feels like the most where you challenge yourself and your audience to be empathetic to your subject, to Sunshine. Can you talk to us about the process of why this story at this moment, and why tackle something that you didn't tackle in your previous films, maybe, but it's universal, like Angel said. For women in this country, why this story? Why this moment?
I started doing research for this in 2020. It was during the pandemic. So at the time, I was starting to interview teenagers who continued with their pregnancy, already mothers at 17 or 18, and those who also terminated their pregnancy. And then at that time, I wasn't still sure if it was the screenplay that I was going to put so much time during the lockdown. But after the initial interviews, after the initial research that I did, I realized it will be really a disservice to these kids if I won't continue on with making this into an actual film. So it was more of these girls pushing me, not really actually telling me, but their haunting stories were really the push that I needed for me to continue on with writing the script.
Yeah, one thing I also realized then kasi after watching the film was how preventable Sunshine's issue could have been if she, like all other young women in the Philippines, had access to proper sex education. Since the premise of this podcast is trying to get the perspective of different generations, I was curious about like how my elders, like millennials, Gen Xers, got the information that they needed about this topic kung walang internet pa nung time nyo.
Feeling ko almost the same as now, pero wala nga lang internet. It was basically from friends, from watching films, from watching it from teleserye, from illegal sites, ganyan, even from porn, but not really from school and not from people of authority or from parents. I remember we tackled sex in biology class, but not extensively, not very. I don't remember. I've no full recollection of my teacher actually like putting so much time tackling that, tackling sex, what happens, what's consent, what does this mean, etc. And it was already, I think, in high school or maybe late grade 6 or grade 7. So tapos the abortion, the pamparegla. when I was in college and I was in high school, grade school, when my mom and I would excuse me, sorry. When my mom and I would go to Quiapo Church, nandun na yung pamparegla stall. So hanggang ngayon 25 years later, it's still there. So hindi siya nagbago, nandun pa rin siya. Basically walang pagbabago. Nadagdagan lang yung mga lugar kung saan ka pwedeng makakuha ng information. May TikTok na, pwede na sa Viber kumuha, ganyan. Pero basically wala pa ring comprehensive sex education na properly implemented sa schools.
Yeah, Angel, as our Gen Z representative, no, how has that changed in your generation? Like, at the risk of sounding crass, but how did you learn about sex?
Well, the internet is a double-edged sword talaga kasi for one, we had more access to resources but we couldn't always say that they were scientifically accurate or appropriate. Like, yung mga kaedad ko, may mga kilala ko na nagsasearch ng girls kissing girls sa YouTube or parang nasa mga 18 plus forums sa Reddit ng grade 3 pa lang kami. Personally, I learned more about like bodily autonomy, pleasure, and consent from like One Direction fan fiction on Wattpad. Kasi we did not have that in my all-girls Catholic high school. So parang my male CL teacher was the one who taught me about female anatomy. And it was always to the extent of like, your body is the temple of the Holy Spirit. You are made for procreation. If you experiment with your body by yourself or with a partner, you will burn in hell. Parang yan lagi yung subtext. It was never a healthy and open conversation about a natural part of life. So,
Direct in your research and fieldwork, ano yung profile nung mga nakausap mo while researching Sunshine in terms of this? Was it similar to what Angel went through or worse, better?
Sa age, it was 16 to 18, 19. May nakausap din ako na 20s but naging nanay nung 17, 18. And then some of them were from private schools but others were from less privileged areas. Merong kasama pa nila yung parents. And meron ding umalis na, lumaya sa family kasi hindi alam ng nanay at tatay at natatakot, ganon. So very very when I do research, I interview people na as close to my characters as possible. So in this case, I also interviewed athletes. I interviewed yun kasing age ni Sunshine, 19, basta nasa teens na nabuntis or na tinuloy tsaka hindi tinuloy.
And what access did they have to like education or someone telling them that this is how you navigate yung work. Obviously, it must not have been that good kasi nabuntis nga sila. But about their options after it happens and before it happens, what kind of information did they have access to at the time?
Basically, wala. Wala silang tamang access to what they should, the options that they can have. Meron doon na hindi niya alam na buntis siya. So, parang yung nangyari kay Mengay na akala niya may bulati lang yung tiyan niya. Kaya malaki. Kasi hindi masyadong malaki yung tiyan niya eh. So, hindi siya nagpapa-check up. Hindi niya alam na, akala niya may something wrong lang sa kanya na hindi siya nagkakaregla. Tapos nung chinek na, may bata na sa loob. So, wala na siyang, parang ang dating sa kanya, wala na siyang choice. Nagulat siya na ganun pala yun. There was one na I interviewed. She was from Ateneo. And then she terminated her pregnancy. And then later on, kapag meron siyang batchmate na nabubuntis, na unplanned pregnancy, parang sa kanya lumalapit. Kasi she did not continue with her pregnancy. Sa kanya lumalapit, tapos tinutulungan niya. She points them to doctors who can help, ganyan, etc. So, parang it was different kind of a story. Parang sa kanya, walang tumulong sa kanya before. So, parang it has become her, parang life's mission na I won't let that happen to other girls. If wala silang malapitan, kahit stranger ako, I will do it for them. So, it was a really different story na sana merong ganun yung ibang mga bata. Meron din ako na interview na nagkyapo siya, tapos bumili siya ng pamparegla doon, tapos tinake niya, dinugo siya, tapos okay na sa she went on with her life, and then later nabuhay pala yung bata. So hindi pala effective yung hindi niya rin alam. Nalaman na lang niya parang lumalaki yung tiyan ko. Tapos nagulat na lang yung OB niya na bakit ganun, buntis ka? So ang daming, and these are kids na parang 19 years old, 18 years old na ang tingin natin sa kanila, ay may muwang na yan, may utak na yan, kaya na nila mag-decide for themselves. Pero in reality, hindi. Mga bata pa rin talaga sila na, tapos yun, wala. Pinanganak niya yung bata kasi, mga 5 months na, gano'n, 4 months na. Tapos hindi na niya talaga alam yung gagawin. There was also another instance na nag-Google siya, nag-pregnancy test siya. Di ba 2 lines yon? Yung second line, very faint. So, ginugol niya kung ano ba ibig sabihin ng faint. Tapos sabi doon, not pregnant. Di ko alam kung baka naging selective lang yung tinignan niya. So akala niya, totoo, na pag faint lang yung second line, not pregnant. So she went on with her life. And then later, syempre hindi. Kasi pag faint, it still is a positive result. So, may mga ganun na very heartbreaking talaga. Pero kinukwento nila na, kasi it was already 2 years ago, a year ago, kinukwento nila na parang matter of factly na lang. But, yun, kasi via Zoom mostly because I did it during the pandemic. Hindi ko na nakikita sila kasi some of them, gusto camera off. But, ayun, hindi ko alam kung ano talaga yung tumatakbo sa isip nila when they decided.
Direk, you mentioned na you had a case study from Ateneo who actually didn't have the information she needed. And Angel went to some of the best schools in the country, and she didn't have the information she needed. I remember I was talking to a friend yesterday. She's also an Ateneo graduate. She's 30 years old. And she was telling me na her friends would ask her about contraception, like access to implants. And people were asking her because she was the only one that they knew who would know how to get implants. Like, and what I'm hearing, hindi siya socio-economic lang per se na yung access to this information. What is it? What I mean, if you were to put a diagnosis, bakit ang hirap ma-access yung information na yun? Gayong you went to the best schools, matatalinong tao to mga to. Bakit yung tabu pa rin yung impormasyon tungkol sa sex at saka sa reproductive health?
I think una systemic and cultural na talaga siya. Na even sa mga areas na akala nating very progressive, hush pa rin yung pag-uusap pagtungkol sa sex. Lalo pagtungkol sa abortion, ganyan. Ganon, hindi na talaga siya social status, antas ng edukasyon, ganyan. Very cultural na talaga siya. And I think malaking bagay na hindi kasi siya naisa sa batas eh. So, wala talagang law na nagpo-protect sa mga bata, sa mga babae. Supposedly, may sex education na sa schools pero hindi naman siya fully implemented and hindi rin naman fully equipped yung mga guro natin na ituro yon. Kasi nga, dahil bago yung konsepto ng pagtuturo ng sex education sa mga schools at meron ding personal na pinaniniwalaan yung mga guro, siguro mahirap talagang maipasok agad yun. Pero I think kailangan lang talaga ng political will and change of mindset na hindi natutungkol sa religion, hindi natutungkol sa kung ano yung pinaniniwalaan mo. This is a reality that is happening. And I guess kung wala talagang batas na magmamandate nun, wala. Yung kung ano yung nangyari sa akin, na kung ano yung Quiapo, kung paano kapangit yung access sa tamang information, kawalan ng sex education. Many years ago, magiging ganun pa rin years from now.
So our entire conversation points to this need talaga for comprehensive sexuality education. Pero kung tatanungin ko kayo direct, ano yung mga dapat na topic na may include sa ideal curriculum for CSE? Like for example sa akin, I think it's very important to teach kids from a very young age. Kahit yung like bare minimum na concept lang ng consent. Yung parang yung bata pwede sila umayaw pag ayaw nila na hinahawak-hawakan sila or kinikis sila kahit family member. Dapat pwede nila may assert yung boundaries. Or yung kahit yung feeling na hindi mo tatawaging flower or bird yung private parts mo. I think that's very important to instill from a very young age. But I don't know, from your perspective, Direk, like what are some things that we should be able to tackle across like all age groups?
Yun, definitely yung consent. May isang very alarming na statistics na ang rising pregnancy cases ay nasa age bracket na 10 to 14. So, yung 10 years old to 14 years old, ibig sabihin wala talaga silang alam sa sex. At most of them na nabubuntis ay because of abuse or coercion. So, ibig sabihin, hindi nila alam na ito pala yung sex. Hindi nila alam na mali palang hinahawakan ako dito. Mali palang may ginagawa sa akin sa ganito. Kasi hindi nila alam. Kasi usually ang sasabihin sa kanila, ginagawa talaga to. Mas matanda ako, mas alam ko to, ganyan. So, yun yung sobrang alarming. Sa 10 to 14 years old, dun may pinakapagtaas ng percentage ng mga nabubuntis. At ito yung dapat nagbe-benefit sa comprehensive sex education. Heartbreaking talaga yung ganung napabayaan natin talaga yung mga bata na hindi naman nila kayang protektahan talaga yung sarili nila eh. So, yung adults, we are the ones complicit talaga. Kaya yan yung nangyayari sa mga batang to.
Direct, a lot of our problems stems, you mentioned cultural, but also legally, our constitution actually says that life begins at conception, 'di ba? And ang mga nagsulat nun, mga lalaki. Most of our legislators are men, and so they don't give a second thought about, the health of young women. And even you mentioned statistics, most of teen pregnancies, ang discovery, yung partners nila are older men. I know a lot of the discourse around Sunshine and your films, for the most part, were driven by young women. But what do we say to men, older men, and how do we get them on board this train na, may role din kayo dito sa pag-ayos nitong issue na to, na hindi lang lahat ng cargo nasa mga batang babae.
Yes. Actually, even yung iba mga issue rin, kunyari divorce, di ba, we're the only country along with Vatican City na hindi pa rin legal ang divorce. Tapos yan, yung comprehensive sex education, Philippines may one of the most restrictive abortion laws in the world. And sa mga bagay na to na hindi pa rin nalilegalize or hindi pa rin nade-decriminalize, mga babae talaga yung talo. Babae ang talo sa divorce, babae ang talo sa ganyan, so walang access sa safe abortion. Babae ang talo na criminalize ng abortion sa Pilipinas. And yun talaga babae ang nagmamay-ari ng katawan niya, kaya dapat may karapatan yung babae na mag-decide para sa katawan niya. I think hindi lang din naman to kung lalaki ang karamihan sa mga mambabatas, pero ako tinitingnan ko siya na matatanda na kayo lahat, mga mambabatas. Kaya ano pang yung gender nyo, dumaan kayo sa pagkabata, mga nanay at tatay kayo, diba? Sila yung may kakayahang gumawa talaga ng batas para mag-protect. Hindi, parang ang sinasabi nila, kunyari sa Sunshine, lalabas ng sinihan na may empathy and understanding para sa mga sunshine sa totoong buhay. Pero yun lang yung kaya nating magawa as normal people, as normal citizens, just to empathize. Pero wala tayong kakayahang magpasa ng mga batas. So it's one thing to just have empathy for Sunshine, but it's another to actually make a law protecting the actual sunshines outside of the film. So ayun, kaya nga parang sinasabi natin lagi, 'di ba? It takes a village to raise a child. Pero child din naman si Sunshine. Sino yung nag-raise sa kanya? Tayo rin yung nag-raise. So we are the ones to blame for giving them this kind of an unsafe Philippines for them to grow up. And they're forced to grow up kahit na pa lang sila. 10 years old na dapat nagpapatintero lang sila, dapat nag-aaral lang sila ng math, 'di ba? Nagre-recess, ganyan. Pero ang iniisip nila, paano ko lalakihin tong batang to?
Direct, no? Sunshine is an exercise really in empathy. But I think it's very helpful kasi another thing that we're battling in our culture, yung parang internalized na misogyny at saka kaya meron pa ring mga artista in the year of our Lord 2025 who make claims na I'm not going to do premarital sex. And so, I mean, good for her, whatever, she can do what she wants with her life, but it can also be a dangerous signal, di ba? Na that's something that's taboo when in fact a lot of people are doing it and hindi nila makukuha yung information na kailangan nila to something like that. So, what does Sunshine say to a society na gino-glorify pa rin someone who would say na gusto ko ma-preserve ang virginity ko, gusto ko hindi ako makikipag-premarital sex?
Di wag siyang mag-premarital sex.
Pero yun nga, diba? It's glorified, right? Okay lang kung siya, she does her, but
yeah,
the signal to the world is, this is virtuous. You're a good person if you don't do premarital sex. everyone else, you deserve what you get because you did something evil, when in fact that's not how we should be looking at it.
Yeah. Kasi iba yung iba yung kung ano yung paniniwala mo, iba rin yung numbers, yung may statistics na. And the reality is, habang tumataas yung population natin, ilang milyon na ba tayo? 119 million na tayo. Habang tumataas din yung abortion cases, tumataas din yung mga mga teenagers na namamatay. Yung pagiging illegal ng abortion, it doesn't stop these kids from having abortions. It doesn't make the abortions any safer. Hindi dahil these are based from actual number statistics na making abortion illegal doesn't stop them from actually dying from abortion, getting abortion. It only makes the abortions unsafe and really bad for these kids in general kasi they resort to yung parang nangyari sa Sunshine na kung saan-saan sila nakakahanap. Walang mga doctors na gustong tumulong sa kanila even for post-abortion care. So, sa totoo lang, sinasabi natin lagi yung religion kasi yung religion ko ganito, ganyan. Ganito yung paniniwala ko. Pero actually, yung Spain na nagdala sa atin ng Christianity sa Pilipinas, sobrang progressive na nila. Naiwan tayo. Yung Spain na nagbigay sa atin nito ng paniniwalang to, wala na. Hindi tayo isinama sa pagiging progressive nila pagdating sa women's reproductive health rights and abortion rights, etc. So, I don't think relevant pa rin yung paggamit ng religion as an excuse for the things that we believe in na ang pinaka nagiging biktima ay yung mga batang babae na baka hindi naman kasi nila nararamdaman, hindi kasama sa circle nila na yung usual ay okay naman ako ganito yung paniniwala ko kasi hindi sila yung mismong nakakaranas.
You mentioned something direct about how not talking about it doesn't stop it from happening. And that's the argument kasi of a lot of like the pearl-clutching conservatives talaga na ayaw nila pag-usapan kasi they feel like it's gonna encourage for reckless experimentation. And to some degree, true naman. So that's my question. How do we strike a balance between bombarding the youth today with things that they might not need to know right now without like totally like stopping them from talking about it? Like, how do you regulate the information that they receive so that they're still able to make informed decisions?
Comprehensive sex education talaga. Na it's really coming from a place of science siya, inaral siya, equipped yung nagtuturo, hindi siya galing chismisan, hindi siya galing sa ka-age mo, na siya, ay, ganito daw yun, ganyan, ay, may nakita ko sa ganito, di ba? Parang, pero kapag may maayos tayo and fully implemented na comprehensive sex education, at yun nga, na mandate siya, yung Prevention of Adolescent Pregnancy Act, na-approve na siya sa Congress last year or early this year. Tapos na-stop na lang siya sa Senate. So, we were so close. But, hindi pa rin pala. So, ulit tayo na kapag nahihinder tayo ng mga sobrang makaluma ng paniniwala. Umiikot na yung mundo, Diyos ko. Dito, ang dami na nagbago sa mundo at parang tayo naiwan pa rin tayo.
Direct siguro to end our conversation, no? Sunshine sparked a lot of very important discussions online, Reddit. It's all over my feed. Did you come into this project like now? You're talking to us and you sound like an advocate instead of just an artist and a filmmaker. did you come into this project knowing that, thinking that? Did you set out to start this firestorm of a conversation? Like, and how do you approach that as a filmmaker, where I could imagine mas gusto mo na lang na pag-usapan yung merits ng film kesa yung nag-uusap tayo ngayon tungkol sa statistics ng abortion at saka teen pregnancy sa Pilipinas?
Hindi ko siya in-expect. Parang in script writing, 'di ba, they always tell you, write what you know. Pero here in Sunshine, I wrote what I didn't know. And because I didn't know, I had to know. So while writing Sunshine, it was really parang me getting an education about this. Kasi alam ko naman yung abortion, may stand ako, pero hindi ganito kalapit na yung mga nakausap ko na mga organizations like WGNRR, Pinsan, Likhaan, sa UP, Save the Children, hindi ko yan alam dati. Tapos sila yung mga nakausap ko, sila nagbigay ng mga statistics, ang dami nilang binigay na resource people na pwede ko makausap. Tapos, parang habang ginagawa ko yung Sunshine, lalong parang galing na siya sa si Sunshine, hindi na lang talaga siya character. Parang totoong tao na talaga siya. So, whenever I write, ang loyalty ko talaga is to my character. Parang, kahit mali or tama yung magiging desisyon ng character ko within the film, ang mamimake sure ko sa kanya ay kakampi niya ako. Kakampi niya ako kahit na siguro wala si Ate Jeline sa kanya, i-make sure ko, kakampi mo ko hanggang dulo. So, ang nangyari sa Sunshine, hindi lang basta kakampi, pero parang in-equip din ako ni Sunshine ng tamang information, tamang stories, para yung pagiging kakampi ko sa kanya, parang siya rin naging kakampi ako. Parang nag-work kami together na parang minake sure ni Sunshine. Pero medyo weird. Pero syempre, as writer, parang tingin ko talaga lagi, even ibang writers, mga totoong tao na talaga sila. Pero minake sure ni Sunshine na siya rin, hindi niya ako pababayaan. Kasi based yung lahat ng mga nasulat namin, lahat ng mga naramdaman namin ay based siya on real people, mga totoong kwento. At ang dami ring mga nakabasa na nagsusupport doon sa nangyari. In fact, isang tidbit, this wasn't supposedly the original ending of Sunshine. It's a very different ending. The first draft ending was pinanganak niya yung bata. Umuwi yung nanay niya galing Canada at pinagalitan siya at minake sure na ipapanganak niya yung bata. Tapos yung last eksena sa pelikula ay nanonood siya ng Olympics. Yung mismong tawag doon?
Event niya.
Mismong event niya. Tapos hawak-hawak niya yung bata. Tapos umiiyak yung bata, sobrang ingay. Tapos yung routine na ginagawa niya, iba na yung gumawa. Tapos umiiyak siya, tapos wala siyang pakialam dun sa anak niya. Alam mong hindi siya ready maging nanay. Ganun yung gusto kong i-point niya. Parang, yan yung nangyayari. Yung hindi siya ready maging nanay. Kaso, nung binasa ko siya, tapos pinabasa ko siya sa mga tao, parang na-realize ko, shit, parang mali. Parang unang-una, baka maging iba yung interpretation ng ibang tao, especially ng mga conservatives, na sabihin, at least pinanganak niya, pwede naman siyang mangarap ulit, ganyan. Na hindi yon, na sobrang iba yung ko. Tapos parang na-realize ko, ang daming nag-ano sa akin, parang, wag mo naman gawin yun kay Sunshine. Sabi niya. Tapos, yun nga, parang, ang isang tumatak sa akin, ang nagsabi sa akin, yung editor ko, si Ben Tolentino, na sabi niya, hindi na nga nananalo yung mga babae sa labas, at least dito sa Sunshine, bigyan mo naman siya ng tagumpay. Na, at least, in a few years, kapag merong bata na parang nangyari kay Sunshine, iisipin niya na kahit fictional character lang si Sunshine, hindi, kaya mong magtagumpay, parang siya. So, ayun, parang it's really, although of course, yun nga, fictional character at script lang naman siya, parang naging siya, totoong buhay siya na tinulungan ko si Sunshine dun sa script, pero si Sunshine, tinulungan din niya akong buuin kung ano yung tingin ko sa issue na 'to tungkol sa kay Sunshine. Kaya siguro even si Maris, ang dami ko binigay sa kanya ng mga mga readings. Kahit wala na siya sa college, ang dami ko reading sa kanya, ganyan. Tapos pupunta din talaga siya sa mga interviews, ganyan, in person. Punta kami sa mga ng pinsan, ganyan, mga panel. Kasi sabi ko sa kanya, hindi pwedeng si Sunshine ka lang sa pelikula. Kung naniniwala ka sa pinagdadaanan ni Sunshine, dapat kaya nating paglaban siya even outside. And ayun, nakakatuwa na even outside the film, pag magsasalita siya about Sunshine, nagugulat ako kung gaano siya ka-passionate sa kung ano yung personal convictions din niya tungkol kay Sunshine.
Direct, last question na lang from me. Sorry, as fanboy. I saw an interview with you before when you talked about that thing called Tadhana and about letting that go and your process for like moving on from being just the director of that thing called Tadhana. And I thought that was very poignant because of how much you poured into that movie. How do you move on from Sunshine, or how do you let Sunshine go, or how will she stay with you throughout your next steps in your filmmaking journey?
Ay parang kaming mga kasama ng mga producers ko, sina Bianca Balbuena, si Dan Villegas, Gio Lomontad, and my executive producers. Ang gusto talaga namin na next step ay makatulong kami sa mga dapat na maipasa ng mga batas. Kung kailangan naming magpalabas ulit ng special screening sa House of Representatives and sa Senate, ipupush namin. Kasi, ayun, parang hindi enough talaga na magka-empathy lang eh. Hindi enough yung may feelings lang about Sunshine. Pero magiging buo lang talaga yung kwento ni Sunshine kapag may nakuha kahit paanong social change or policy change. Na I think kayang-kayang makuha. Kasi, yun nga, napasa na sa House of Representatives yung anti-adolescent pregnancy na act eh. Nagkaroon lang kasi ng Project Dalisay. Char. Yun, kaya hindi na. Pero 'di ba, parang may progress eh. Even sa abortion rights and access, may progress din 'yon. I think last December 2024, for the first time, yung Philippine Human Rights Commission nirecommend nila na abortion be decriminalized for the first time. It used to be na sobrang no, abortion is immoral, but yung sabi ng Philippine Commission on Human Rights, yun yung nila, recommendation. So, may progress eh. Meron talaga. Kailangan lang natin, I think, mga lampag. Kasi, ang dami talagang issue na ang daming issue na iniisip nila, katulad ng baha, ng leptospirus.
Flood control.
Pero kapag meron talaga magpupush, may magla-lobby for it. Mas lumalakas. And I think ang isang na ko dito sa buong experience namin sa pagpapalabas ng Sunshine, ang lakas ng boses ng Gen Z. Sobrang lakas ng boses ng Gen Z na inakala namin hindi manonood ng sine yan kasi sa Netflix lang sila nanonood. Pero grabe, iba yung boses ng kabataan. So I think totoo pa rin yung sinabi ni Rizal na sila yung pag-asa ng bayan.
Well, I just wanted to say to cap everything off na, I was gonna say na kaya yun yung role ng mga pelikula tulad ng Sunshine, yung pag-educate, pagbubukas sa mga gantong conversation. But also, given like that bombshell secret that you dropped na yun pala yung original ending, yung role din ng Sunshine siguro yung pagturo sa amin na mag-envision ng better future. Like, hindi lagi kailangan grim, hindi lagi kailangan parang feel namin na walang hope. Yun yung parang napulot ko dun sa film, yung importance ng pag-instill talaga ng hope. So, thank you so much, Direk, for this enlightening conversation. Feel ko talaga part ako ng yung mga Q&A nyo sa dulo ng block screening. Parang ang dami ko napulot na exclusive. So, thank you.
And Direk, if people listening or viewing this want to get in touch with you to organize viewings or whatever, how do they get in touch? Are you still doing that?
Yes. If you want to book private screening, we're going to help you and assist you. Kami na yung kakausap sa SM sa oras at date na gusto nyo. And sometimes if we're free, we also come for a quick Q&A after. Just go to our IG at Project 8 Projects or sa Facebook Project 8 Projects. Or pwede rin sa akin at Tonette Hadaone. TONETJADAONE. Ayun.
Okay, we'll add that in the episode description also.
Thank you. Yes. Sobrang yung mga natitira naming mga block screenings, mga recent lang sila, mga orgs. Mga orgs siya, mga youth orgs. So, and mga teachers. Even si Mayor Joy nagpa-screen sa mga barangay tanod at mga SK. So, very talaga, very specific. Kasi tama sila yung mga leaders sa mga smaller communities. So yun, thank you so much sa mga nagpo-push ng block screenings.
All right. Thank you, Direk.
Thank you
So much.